Here's John Shannon. What a segue. Here's John Shannon.
What a segue.
Former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada.
And
the most famous man from all over British Columbia. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm not going near anything there.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Best to move on.
I hear you. How hard did you guys try to get like a signature event at National Hockey League All-Star Weekend? Like home run derby and slam dunk contest over the years have brought some people to the yard. How easy, difficult has that been in hockey?
So the first time we did anything of that ilk on an official basis was 1990 in Pittsburgh. It was the first opportunity for the skills competition. I wasn't with the league at the time, but I was running Sports Channel America's hockey in the United States. And so we were heavily involved in the organization and production of that. The biggest challenge over the years, which has changed, is that a lot of players would not and were not willing to compete in skills that they were very good at for the fear of A, injury, and B, embarrassment. And so you'd have a plan in place for the fastest skater, and you'd put Mike Madonna on it, and then Mike would say, no, I don't want to skate in that. I'd rather do the agility. No, Mike, you're one of the fastest skaters in the game. Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. So that really became a really, really tough challenge over, my time at Hockey Night, we had the same issues. When I was with the league, we had the issues. It seems to have improved now, and certainly in the last couple of years when the league has done all-star games, because they have had much more direct involvement of the stars like Connor McDavid in order to try to improve it. But it's, I'm one of those guys that, we can sit and talk about the home run derby, but the reason we talk about the home run derby is that was the only sport thing going on right now.
Fair enough.
There's nothing else.
Fair enough.
Which is one of the reasons why, by the way, the NHL schedule in its entirety is coming out on Wednesdays, because there are absolutely no sports going on Wednesday. So there'll be a lot of attention in both countries about what the NHL schedule's like.
And to be fair, it's not like the NFL has a signature event.
Nobody does anymore. And the magic of those types of events was that we never saw all the games all the time. Major League Baseball was cool because you saw the All-Star game and you saw all the uniforms of all the teams. And there was a real rivalry between the American League and the National League, and it was fun if you were a National League guy or an American League guy. But I can watch in the NHL. I can watch 1,312 regular season games in my living room. Yep. So nothing special about seeing what that sweater looks like anymore. I see it all the time.
I mean, leagues love to create content, John. They love to create new things that will get eyeballs on it. I get it. But it is kind of interesting that the NFL, which has a very physical sport like the NHL does, doesn't force the issue too much. They've tried to reinvent the Pro Bowl a little bit, but it's been half-hearted at best. And the fans, though, the more important point to be made here is the fans aren't clamoring for anything more. Like, they respect the fact that people aren't saying, hey, why don't you guys do an all-star game? Like, nobody is saying that. It seems like everybody respects the fact that it is a long enough season for a physical game, and the fans are just content with whatever they get, and they don't call for more. It's the NFL's in a good spot there.
Well, and the NFL's been smart. They said, well, we're going to go to flag football. Oh, and by the way, why don't we get flag football for the Olympics?
Yeah.
And so they're going to reap the residue of all of that when the Olympics in Los Angeles have flag football, and Canada has a chance to come second.
In fact, anything less than silver will be a massive disappointment.
Yes,
we're holding them to that standard in Los Angeles. Let's get to hockey in the Vancouver Canucks. John, we're asking on our Whistler Golf Club poll question today. Do you agree with what the Canucks have done in goal? The extending of both Kevin Lankin and Thatcher Demko, and now the trading of Archer Shelovs. What says you?
Well, so let's call Shelovs what he was. He was the MVP of the American League playoffs, which was fantastic. He seemed to have remedied some of the issues he had in his Canuck appearances over the last little while. The problem was for the Canucks is that I think Demko's a better goalie. I think Lankinen's a better goalie. And Shelov's needed waivers. So there's the bottom line. And so you could keep Shelov's and you could put him on your roster as the third goalie, but when you sent him to the American League, you were going to lose him. Somebody was going to claim him. So to get something for him makes a ton of sense. Was it a lot? Probably not as much as people want. I mean, Stillman's a tough young guy, and heaven knows what a fourth-round pick is worth. But I don't think. And Patrick Alvin, we had Patrick Alvin on our show, 2.5 weeks ago, and he kind of hinted that something was coming down the pipe about Shelov's, and it did happen exactly as he said it. Was they knew they had to do something, and in many ways, I think they actually owed it to him. I think that there wasn't a place for him on the big squad, but he has been a loyal employee and did a great job for Abbotsford. And so let's put him in a spot to succeed, and maybe we can get something for him too.
And he's in a spot to succeed. I mean, there's every bit the possibility that he wins the number 2 job there. And if Tristan Jarry doesn't pull up his socks a little bit, there's the potential for some major starters minutes here.
Absolutely.
In fact,
I would not be surprised to see it as 50-50 before the season's over. Like
potentially,
Jarry's inconsistencies are something that have plagued him for the last 2 or 3 years, although he was better the second half of the season last year. And really, in many ways, when you saw that Kyle had traded Alex Nedeljkovic to San Jose, that number 2 spot was wide open. So Shelov's is in a really good position in a great little hockey town. So, I mean, it should be fun to watch what he's able to do behind a rebuilding Pittsburgh Penguins.
Canucks have devoted a lot of money to the goaltending position. That's the one caveat here is, they're up over $13 million here. That's a lot of cashola. Is that you don't see a whole lot of teams devoting that much money because it's not been proven to work. Like having stellar goaltending as sort of your hallmark with good defense and not so great offense, like that's not a model that we see in the NHL. But it may or may not work. We'll see.
No, but and it may not be a fair comparison. But when you look at the amount of money that Tampa has put into goaltending, 90% of it is Vasilevsky.
Right.
When you look at what Florida has put into goaltending, 90% is Bobrovsky. When you look at what the Rangers have done, 90% of it's Shesterkin, although, that's a pretty good combination with Shesterkin and Quick there. Teams live with great goaltending and succeed with great goaltending. There's every reason to think, with the giant caveat, if he stays healthy, that Thatcher Demko is an elite goaltender in this league, and he can be that difference maker.
We'll see, indeed.
Well, that's
no.
You have to put that in, and then Langton becomes a pretty good insurance policy for a guy who, and you guys saw it as much as I did. What he did while Demko was out at the first half of the season that gave the team a chance to even compete.
Yeah. And John, you handle it this way if you're hell-bent on the playoffs. Like, by all rights, they should be a playoff team next year if Demko is healthy and Lankinen plays to what he is, right? Like, if you can run both of those goaltenders out on any given night for 82 next year, your goal prevention should be strong. I mean, provided you play reasonably well in front of them defensively. Your goal prevention should be solid enough to be a playoff team.
And I think, I agree. And I think you look at the ratio, Connor Hellebuck, who's the Vezina winner, played, I think, 63 this year for Winnipeg. I'm thinking if they're cautious about what Demko's going to go, I think the ratio is probably going to be 50-32. Mm-hmm. And if it's 50-32, that I think then that the Demko dollars are worth it. And perhaps what they've paid for Lankinen for not just a short term, but for a longer period of time, I think that that's well worth the money.
Yep. And John, we've been discussing since the Lankinen extension and then certainly post-Demko extension, is a season of trying to win games 3-2 and 2-1. Is that going to fly with the fans? You've got long experience in this country and in a lot of markets as well. British Columbian, worked in Toronto. I know you do a ton of work in Edmonton and Winnipeg. Do you think that NHL Canadian hockey fans just want to see a winner, and if it is ugly duckling 2-1, 3-2 hockey, so be it? Or do you think there needs to be some degree of entertainment style panache, up and down, goal scoring, open hockey to entertain the masses in this country at this stage of the game?
Well, the double-edged sword is that in the regular season you want to be entertained, and in the playoffs you want to win. So my gut tells me at this point, I think W's are more important than entertainment, because W's are the ultimate entertainment. And the day after the game, you look at the standings and you say, did we win or did we lose? Not, gosh, it was really exciting, but we lost. I think you need the wins first. And I think that, the goaltending situation for the Canucks helps them get closer to that. I also think their defense is is going to be pretty good. I think they're in pretty good shape. If everybody would, stop worrying about what happens 24 months from now, I think that, that they can enjoy a pretty good defensive group of players playing for the Canucks.
There's, we talked yesterday on the show. I floated the possibility of a poll question on, is there another big trade still coming for the Vancouver Canucks? And lo and behold, by the end of the day, there's already reports that is the case for Vancouver. Do you think that there's still something to be shaken free here by Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, given the state of the forwards and the state of centers? Do you think they can pull something off here, despite the fact they're up against the cap?
Well, if you're up against the cap, what are you giving up? It becomes the question.
It is.
Mm-hmm. They got to move money out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I think the answer is yes, and I do think that they still need to address, in my opinion, the number 2 center spot. I think that it's almost to the point where asking Hedl to be the number 2 center is just it's putting a square peg into a round hole. I think Hedl's by far more effective as your number 3 center. So how do you fix that? You got to go find somebody to play there. And where do you have strength? And I do think they have some strength on the blue line to move somebody if in fact they would. So that becomes something that is has to be considered. And by the way, I think that's a conversation 32 teams are having. Yeah. I think with what's going on with the cap and who's over the cap and how close they are to the cap and where teams are, I think we are still between now and Labor Day. We're going to see some player movement if they can get through the players no move and no trade clauses.
Want to ask you what becomes now of Cranbrook's Bowen Byram. He's got a deal with the Buffalo Sabres. It is 2 years. It's maybe a little more money than some had projected, but it walks him straight into unrestricted free agency, and he's been telling the Sabres for some time he would like more opportunity on that blue line where they have the 2 young first overalls ahead of him. What do you think? Is he more tradable now? Has the value gone up or down? What do you forecast here for Bowen Byram, who seems like one of the bigger pieces yet to drop here in this NHL offseason?
I was a Byram fan when he was back in Colorado, and even considering some of his health issues there, those seem to have gone away. So from that perspective, if I'm the Buffalo Sabres, I don't even... If there has been some sort of resolution of I like playing here, I can play here for at least 2 years, I don't know why the Sabres would even consider moving. I really don't. If somebody comes out and says, well, he wants out, which I have yet to hear, he's a great asset to have. You're right. Six and a quarter is a lot of money, but at the same time, the Sabres might be in the toughest division in hockey, and if you're going to win, you're going to win on defense. And I think when you talk about Dahlin and Power being, the linchpins on the blue line, I think you have to put Byram in that same conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Those three are pretty good.
I think he's that good. And so why would you even consider moving him unless he has become a malcontent of some sort? And I've never heard that.
Well, he's their second best defenseman after Dahlin.
Right.
Like he's better than Owen Power. It's just when you take a kid first overall, like Owen Power is taken first overall, and he's huge and all that, you want to force feed him minutes and see, if he can be that top pair.
And Kesselring's no slouch either, so their top four are pretty good. Like, they are pretty set.
They, and God knows they need goal prevention.
Yeah.
And they also have the Alex Tuck matter too, right? Like he's going into the final year of his deal, and the reports out of Buffalo where he's either got to sign long term, and he is a Western New York guy, so or that's going to be a trade as well, and we're watching that matter because he had the good sense to marry a British Columbia girl, so we're wondering if maybe something happens there.
Yeah,
and then there's Pittsburgh.
Can he play center? Can he play center? That's
I know.
You got to play center.
I know. Speaking of square pegs and round holes, like Jared McCann, Evan Rodriguez, they don't play a ton of center anymore, but we're thinking of them as centers now because there's just a shortage of centers. So guess what? Guys who have center in your background, you've got to play center again this year in the NHL.
I'm not sure Jared McCann can come home, guys. That's one of those. That name, I read that name every once in a while. I'm just saying, too late, done. Former Canuck, not future Canuck, former Canuck.
Then there's Pittsburgh, who are holding on to the two scoring wingers, Rust and Raquel, have Erik Karlsson that they're looking to peddle. And then who knows about the two big stars. Is Kyle Dubas is he holding all the cards here? John, is he going to reap these big prices that apparently he's asking for because of the dearth of players who are available on the trade market?
Well, I think that there's a little bit out of his control. I mean, you talk about the big two. I mean, Evgeny Malkin, first of all, I'd love to know what his health is. That knee doesn't sound very good. So that's an issue. I'm again one of those guys. Maybe I'm a stubborn old coot. Sid's not going anywhere. Sid's just not going. I mean, his legacy is in Pittsburgh. He will be part of the Pittsburgh Mount Rushmore at some point. And I think that for him to be discussed as somebody that's going to be traded, I just do not see it. I do not see it. Period. So whether that makes life easier for Kyle or not. I'm not sure. I think it probably does. The Karlsson thing is the problem with the Karlsson thing is that's of his own doing. He didn't inherit Erik Karlsson. He traded for Erik Karlsson, and it has not worked. Period. So if you could find somebody like a Detroit that might be willing to take him, because let's face it, Steve Yzerman needs some help too. Maybe the worst team in the last decade on special teams, period. And they're in, Detroit, it goes back to Buffalo a little bit. Detroit and Buffalo are in that realm of, gosh, look what Ottawa did. There used to be 3 ugly ducklings in the Atlantic. Now there's only 2. And so they have to do something. They have to do it quickly. So the Brian Rust one is, in my mind, is like Byram, because I love Brian Rust. We talked about him 3 weeks ago. Should they look at Rust? Absolutely look at Brian Rust if they could get him, even if he doesn't play center. But, Kyle still needs guys to score goals and to lead the team too. So I can understand that. Raquel, I still think he'll look at moving Raquel. I really do. But Rust is somebody, to me, he's a foundational guy. Yeah. He's as much a foundational guy as Letang and Malkin, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, Russ was there for the Cups, right? Raquel has been more of a outcome lately.
Big goal guy. He's a big goal
He
guy.
was, yeah. And then, of course, the other problem he has with Karlsson, he's a $10 million cap hit. Now, it's only 16.5 in actual cash over these last 2 years, but it's a $10 million cap hit, which does take some teams out of it, even with all this cap space floating about. And we talked about that last week.
Well, he's going to have to, I still think he's going to have to eat some. So.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Look at the draft picks Pittsburgh has, guys. They've got 12 top 3 round picks in the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's how tear down rebuilds are done.
Yeah,
right. And
but they're not done. They're not even. They
no.
just started, and they've already got that draft.
Now
capital.
they don't have multiple firsts, so
no,
they're
that's
still
that's the weakness.
Things are not perfect in Pittsburgh as a rebuild. You know, there were a lot more empty seats at the end of the season there than normal. You know, there's an
ownership change. Like, what's going on there, John? Like, we hear Mario and Burkle are maybe back and looking to buy from Fenway. That seems to be
I don't
the
think they're
biggest
looking
matter.
to buy the whole thing. I think what Fenway's doing is they're looking for a cash injection, and so they're not giving up any power. You know, 51% is 51%, and Fenway's not going to do that. If they're going to find other investors, it's to be minority owners. And whether it's Burkle and Mario again, which by the way, I'd love to see Mario Lemieux back involved with the organization one more time. I think, like, foundationally, I think that's so important for the Penguins, so important for Pittsburgh. Mario would like to be more involved, and I think when you look at the influence that Mario had on the hockey club over the time he was in ownership. I think he's due that. So I'd love to see him back part of the picture somehow, some way.
I think we all would. John, marvelous stuff. Enjoy your week. Hit the ball straight. We'll catch up next week.
Off to Charlottetown, Boys and Girls Club for a couple of days to hit the golf ball.
Good for you.
There you go. Enjoy.
Great golf there.
Cheers, boys.
No mountains.